What if the car you're driving isn't even made by the brand on the badge? Think you're loyal to one car brand? What if we told you your Toyota is actually a Mazda in disguise? Car companies have been rebadging vehicles for years. Same car, different logo. Some drivers pay thousands more just for the badge. Today, we're revealing 10 rebadged cars that completely fooled buyers. What if your car isn't really what you think it is? Like, subscribe and buckle up. This will change how you see car brands forever. Before we dive deeper into the world of badge swapping, let's start with one of the most surprising modern-day examples hiding in plain sight. Rebadge number 1, Hyundai Tucson and Kia Sportage. Same SUV, two personalities. When you first glance at the Hyundai Tucson and the Kia Sportage, you might believe you're looking at two very different SUVs designed for completely different types of drivers. The Tucson wears a sharp futuristic design, while the Sportage, bold and rugged. But beneath all that exterior styling, something unexpected is going on. These two vehicles are built on the exact same platform. They share engines, transmissions, suspension systems, and even a long list of interior components. Therefore, despite their different looks and branding, they're essentially twins with different outfits. Hyundai and Kia are both owned by the Hyundai Motor Group, which means they share R&D, manufacturing resources, and sometimes entire vehicle blueprints. Also, when you sit inside either SUV, you'll notice that the infotainment systems, steering wheel designs, and many buttons are nearly identical. But what truly separates them is the marketing. Hyundai sells the Tucson as sleek and refined, while Kia positions the Sportage as sporty and youthful. Therefore, the same vehicle reaches two different audiences without either ever realizing they've been driving siblings all along. Now, if you thought two automakers sharing one vehicle was surprising, just wait, because this next case involves not two, not three, but 6 different badges on essentially the same SUV. Rebadge number 2, Chevy Trailblazer and its clones. 6 SUVs, 1 platform, endless badges. In the early 2000s, General Motors went all in on platform sharing, and the result was the GMT 360 platform, a foundation that would support multiple mid-size SUVs across various GM-owned brands. The most recognizable of the bunch was the Chevrolet Trailblazer, which quickly became a popular family hauler. But if you look just a little closer, you'd realize the GMC Envoy, Buick Rainier, Oldsmobile Bravada, Isuzu Ascender, and even the Saab 97X were all riding on that very same architecture. Therefore, despite their different badges and branding, these SUVs shared engines, frames, suspension systems, and even dashboard layouts. Also, while GM tried to distinguish them through styling tweaks and trim-level features, like Saab's European-flavored grille or Buick's softer ride, they were, under the skin, practically identical. But that didn't stop buyers from paying very different prices for what was, essentially, the same driving experience. The Rainier was positioned as premium, the Ascender as rugged, and the 97X as refined and Swedish, even though all rolled off the same GM production line. Therefore, this family of SUVs remains one of the clearest examples of rebadging taken to the extreme. And what's more fascinating is how many drivers had no idea they were part of a giant automotive copy-paste experiment. Now, moving into a story where rebadging wasn't about saving money, but about sharing passion between two performance-driven brands. Rebadge number 3, Toyota 86 and Subaru BRZ. Twin sports cars, one shared spirit. The Toyota 86 and the Subaru BRZ are the result of a rare partnership in the automotive world, one built on shared goals rather than simple branding. Developed jointly by Toyota and Subaru, both cars were designed to bring back the joy of lightweight rear-wheel drive sports cars. But although they wear different badges, they're essentially the same machine underneath. They share the same platform, the same low-mounted 2.0-liter or 2.4-liter flat-4 Subaru engine, the same suspension setup, and even the same transmission options, both manual and automatic. Also, if you sit inside one and then jump into the other, the differences are barely noticeable. A slightly different steering wheel badge, minor trim tweaks, and that's about it. But the branding does matter. Toyota appeals to the tuner crowd with its motorsport legacy, while Subaru markets the BRZ as part of its performance lineup alongside the WRX. Therefore, this isn't a case of lazy rebadging, it's a story of collaboration done right. The 86 and BRZ prove that even in a world full of SUVs, two companies can come together and deliver a true driver's car, just in two slightly different flavors. Rebadged number 4, Mazda 2, Scion IA, and Toyota Yaris. One car, 3 names, 0 compromise. The Mazda 2, known as the Demio in some global markets, was a compact hatchback celebrated for its sharp handling, excellent fuel economy, and clean interior design. But in the US, Mazda decided not to launch the latest generation of the 2 under its own badge. Instead, thanks to a partnership with Toyota, the car was rebadged and sold as the Scion IA in 2015. Also, while it carried a Scion badge, nearly every part of the car, running from the chassis to the 1.5-liter engine, was pure Mazda. But things didn't end there. When Toyota shut down the Scion brand in 2016, the very same car was rebadged again, this time as the Toyota Yaris IA, and eventually it dropped the IA altogether and was simply called the Toyota Yaris sedan. Therefore, over just a few short years, the same car wore 3 different badges in the US market, depending on what logo was trending at the time. This clever bit of rebadging allowed Toyota to offer a strong entry-level car without developing a new model from scratch. Therefore, while buyers thought they were getting a Toyota or a Scion, they were actually enjoying Mazda's engineering all along, proving once again that badges can be misleading, but smart collaborations can quietly benefit everyone, moving toward one of the strangest crossovers of the 90s, a rugged British off-roader quietly reborn under a Japanese badge. Rebadge number 5, Honda Crossroad. When Honda borrowed a V8 British off-roader in the early 1990s, Honda was looking to expand its lineup in Japan, especially in the SUV segment, a market that was rapidly heating up, but Honda didn't have a proper off-roader of its own at the time. Therefore, instead of spending years developing one from scratch, the company partnered with Land Rover, and the result was the Honda Crossroad, a rebadged version of the Land Rover Discovery series the Seer built for the Japanese domestic market. Also, this wasn't just a badge swap. Honda sold the Crossroad with minimal changes. It retained the Discovery's bodywork, interior, and even its 3.9-liter Rover V8 engine, which was a surprising choice for a Honda product. The only real difference? The Honda logos. But despite being a full-fledged Land Rover under the skin, Japanese buyers weren't entirely sold. The Crossroad struggled with reliability, something Honda customers weren't used to, and sales were modest. Therefore, this rare rebadge became more of a curiosity than a hit. It remains the only time Honda has ever sold a vehicle with a V8 engine, and also the only time it leaned entirely on another automaker to offer a true SUV. It didn't last long, but it left behind a quirky piece of automotive history that still turns heads among enthusiasts today. What if I told you Volkswagen once sold a British sedan disguised as one of its own? In Argentina, of all places? Strange, yes, but very real. Rebadge number 6, Volkswagen 1500, the British sedan that pretended to be German. In the world of badge engineering, some rebadges make sense, and others seem born from pure corporate improvisation. The Volkswagen 1500, sold in Argentina throughout the 1980s, falls squarely in the latter category. But this car wasn't born in Wolfsburg. Its DNA is traced back to the Hillman Avenger, a humble British sedan that had already worn more nameplates than most cars do in a lifetime. When Chrysler, its then owner, fell into financial turmoil in the late 1970s, it offloaded its Argentinian operations to Volkswagen in 1980. And with that, the Avenger found itself wearing a VW badge, reborn as the Volkswagen 1500. Also, to make it feel more Volkswagen than Vauxhall, VW gave it a facelift, a cleaner front end, updated interior, and modern black plastic trim. But beneath the cosmetic updates, the mechanicals remained true to the 1970s Avenger, a rear-wheel drive layout and body lines that no amount of plastic cladding could disguise. Therefore, what VW ended up selling was not a German-engineered sedan, but a rebranded British holdover that soldiered on all the way to 1991. Despite its age, the 1500 gained a loyal following for being tough, simple, and surprisingly reliable. A misfit in VW's lineup, yes, but a survivor all the same. Imagine spending over $40,000 on an Aston Martin, only to find out it shares more with a Toyota hatchback than a V12 Grand Tourer. Rebadge number 7, Aston Martin Signant, a Toyota in a tuxedo. Share saints. If ever there were a car that split opinions faster than a gated shifter through second gear, it's the Aston Martin Signant. Launched in 2011, this tiny city car was unlike anything the legendary British marque had ever built. But here's the catch. It wasn't really an Aston at all. Underneath its hand-stitched leather and sculpted grille lived the humble Toyota IQ, a subcompact city car designed for tight parking and tighter budgets. So why did Aston Martin build it? Therefore, the Signant wasn't about performance or prestige. It was a response to EU emissions regulations, which required fleet-wide fuel efficiency improvements. Aston needed a low-emission model to balance out its gas-guzzling Grand Tourers, and the Signant was its loophole in a tailored suit. Also, Aston planned to produce 4,000 units per year, but buyers weren't fooled. With a price tag around £30,000, $36,000 plus, the Signant moved just a few hundred units, making it as rare as some limited edition DB models. But rarity doesn't always equal desirability. Despite its premium leather interior and badge, it still packed just 97 horsepower from its Toyota 1.3-liter engine. Still, it has oddly aged into a collector's curiosity, a car that some now consider a bold, if bizarre, piece of Aston Martin history. When it comes to replacing a legend, Lamborghini didn't settle for improvement. Rebadged number 8, Lamborghini Huracan. When reinvention replaced a legend, the Lamborghini Gallardo was more than just a success. It was the brand's breakout model, selling over 12,000 units worldwide. But after 10 years of turning heads, the Gallardo had reached the end of its journey. Lamborghini's CEO at the time, Stefan Winkelmann, made it clear that the new model would not follow in its footsteps too closely. Design is not evolution, it's revolution, he said. Therefore, the Gallardo's replacement would be completely reimagined. Sharper lines, more dramatic styling, and a bolder presence. Also, while the look would be new, the car wouldn't use the same expensive materials as the Aventador. It had to remain entry-level by Lamborghini standards after all. That's why the car would be built on the Volkswagen Group's modular sports platform, the same one used for the next Audi R8. But despite sharing more parts than before, Lamborghini promised that its new car would feel completely unique. Therefore, the new model kept the beloved V10 engine, now tuned to nearly 600 horsepower, and paired it with a dual-clutch automatic transmission. No manual option this time, and with that, Lamborghini introduced the world to the Huracan, a new chapter in its legacy, born not from the past, but from the desire to start fresh and push forward. From rugged reliability to misunderstood luxury, this next trio proves how one platform can wear three very different faces. Rebadged number 9, Nissan Navara. Renault, Alaskan, and Mercedes XClass. One platform, three unique identities. In the world of modern automotive alliances, few rebadging stories are as layered as that of the Nissan Navara, the Renault Alaskan, and the Mercedes-Benz X-Class. The foundation of all three was the same, Nissan's dependable midsize pickup, the Navara. But through strategic collaboration, each brand attempted to mold it to fit their image. Renault was first, introducing the Alaskan in 2016 with only subtle changes, a new grille, badging, and a few exterior tweaks. Also, the cabin and mechanical setup remained nearly identical to the Navara, allowing Renault to enter the pickup market quickly and cost-effectively. Then came the boldest move. Mercedes-Benz, a brand known for luxury, tried its hand at the platform with the X-Class in 2017. Therefore, Mercedes invested in widening the track, crafting unique body panels, and reworking the interior with higher-grade materials and its own infotainment system. But despite the changes, buyers saw through the badge. Rebadged number 10, Dodge Journey and Fiat Fremont. Same car, tailored for different roads. The Dodge Journey, once a budget-friendly American crossover, found a second life in Europe. Not as a Dodge, but as the Fiat Fremont. When Fiat took control of Chrysler during the late 2000s, it rebadged the Journey for European markets in 2011. Mechanically, it was the same car, same platform, same 7-seat layout, and even the same 3.6-liter Pentastar 5.6. But Fiat made just enough changes, a new front grille, minor interior updates, and a few diesel engine options to give it a European identity. Therefore, the Fremont stands as a classic rebadge, a Dodge underneath, wearing an Italian badge to fit a different market. Rebadging isn't always what it seems. One car, many faces, and a lot of surprises. From budget rides to luxury lookalikes, the badge doesn't always tell the whole story. And honestly, that's what makes the car world so much fun. Which one shocked you the most? Or have you ever owned a rebadge without knowing it? If you had fun with this one, drop a like, leave a comment, and share it with a fellow car nerd. And hey, don't forget to subscribe for more stories that prove cars are never just what they seem.